If you guys want to leave your league mates in the dust during your rookie drafts, then pay attention because we are going through from start to finish, running backs to target and avoid. This is the third rendition of me going through my FSE prospect model for the running back position, which is undergoing full updates as we speak to flockfantasy.com. The link down below in the description for that should be live by April 27th, as will be the post-draft draft guide. Quick disclaimer off the top, I am going to go through the process first, about 6-7 minutes or so. If you want to skip ahead, go ahead and do that. Also, the previous running back to target and avoid videos are linked in the description. That was one that I did in February and one that I did post NFL Combine. So the process of the model is this. Ultimately, all of us want to hit on these picks, right? You guys want to hit on your rookie picks. I want to hit on my rookie picks. The two ways that I define a hit at the running back position in the model dating back to 2016 is year 1 to 3 PPR point per game production, right? We want fantasy points. We want it early in their careers because we are very reactive as Dynasty players. Number 2, peak keep trade cut value following their rookie season. So after they've played at least 1 year in the NFL, we want to measure how high were they valued in terms of keep trade cut value. Are they worth a lot on the open market? Because if they are, even if they never have really productive careers, you could say, hypothetically, sell high on a player like Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, somebody who never really had that great production, but did peak as a top 5 running back in Dynasty. So we're going to use those two factors to determine hits. As long as you have that sell high window, hypothetically, you did have a very valuable hit in your rookie drafts. Now, why should you guys listen to me? Does this prospect model work? The prospect model, once we go through it all, produced an R-squared value of 0.5002 for predicting PPR points per game in years 1 to 3. If you're not math people, that basically means that about half the time it was pretty accurate, pretty correlated, 44% higher than raw draft capital. So just where they were drafted, most Dynasty players will follow draft capital of 0.3468. R-squared model 0.5002 for PPR points per game. When it came to peak keep trade cut value, the model produced an R-squared of 0.5246 for predicting keep trade cut value, and then that was about 18% than raw draft capital at 0.4443. So the short answer is that if you follow this thing, you'll be more accurate, certainly than your league mates, but you will actually be more accurate than the NFL is picking which running backs are the best options for you. How the prospect model works is basically this. I went and I tested tons of metrics when I built this thing last year, and even into this year, I've been testing metrics. Basically, at running back, we know that things like size, athleticism, being a workhorse in college, being productive, receiving ability, elusiveness, touchdown scoring, efficiency, level of competition, among a number of other things, mattered at this position. All of those traits, all of those metrics made up the prospect model. It's out of 100%. Final results were 35% of that being analytics and production, 35% traits, so athleticism, elusiveness, things like that, and 30% being film-related things, and you guys can see the breakdown there. The one thing I want to add here is because in February and March, when I did the first 2 videos for the running backs to target and avoid, new to the model since those videos is that I added more metrics to the film portion, because before it was just draft capital, my film grades since 2021, and PFF grades. I decided to, when I didn't have a film grade on the person, so pre-2021 and any of the really low-end prospects, I used Lance Zierlein NFL.com grades in place of my own grades to get another film angle. And I also added the consensus big board and took a percentage off of draft capital, because what the consensus big board is a composite of NFL mock draft database and PFF big boards, which both date back to 2016. And we see all the time high-end running back prospects fall to day 3. We literally saw it in today's NFL draft. I'm just basically wrapping up as the draft is closing here. Adding this improved the model's hit rate by 11%. So I did want to make sure that I got that updated. Cliff notes for how this model actually works. For each metric, you basically use algebra. You solve for a hit at running back. If a hit at running back is somebody who's had a 15 points per game season, who peaked as an RB1 in Dynasty, then you figure out the average of, let's say, and as an example metric, career first downs per touch, a predictive metric that we can use. The answer to that was, on average, guys who have been productive in fantasy, 15 plus point per game season, and also peaked as an RB1 in Dynasty, 33% of the time in college, they forced a first down, on their touches there. So that becomes the trend line. To get 2%, you had to exceed it. To get 1.5%, you met it, and so on and so forth. All of these metrics together have trend lines, and that basically graded out and equaled their total FSE grade. From there, they are basically bucketed. So the themes of the fantasy tiers here, you see generational, workhorse, RB1 upside, RB2 upside, flex play, waiver wire, and fodder. And essentially it's just based on what their FSC model grade was, and that's where they were bucketed into said tier. From there, basically PPR points per game years 1 to 3, you can see what it's detailed as the expected PPR points per game for each tier, and basically the hit rates of how often they were giving you those great production. The best running backs in the model are still Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey. I do want to go over the rookie draft tier labels again because some people seem to get confused every time I go over this. We know that as Dynasty players, we use draft capital as a compass. Most Dynasty players know first round running back good, sixth round running back bad. So based on where they were drafted, we want to know, did the NFL value them appropriately? Did they reach? Are your league mates going to reach on them? Because if the NFL reached on them, there's a good chance your league mates are going to reach on them because they are probably going to follow the draft capital. So it spits out canned advice, basically kind of guessing where they'll go in a rookie draft. Here are the 5 different first-round running backs to basically exemplify this point. Based on the principle that Dynasty players use draft capital to guide them, which a lot of people do, it guides you on how to handle them in rookie drafts, i.e. Saquon requires you to get a Godfather offer not to take him because he's that good of a prospect. Zeke, you want to be smashing the draft button on a prospect of this caliber every time. Najee, probably a solid first-round caliber running back wherever he'll go in rookie drafts. Sony Michel, be careful, a little bit of bust potential there. And then CEH, avoid at all costs, especially considering he was the 101 in that year's rookie draft. So now you probably understand how this thing works for the most part. Again, I have other videos going more in depth that will be linked down below in the description. Basically, you get a grade on a curve for a top 15 running back for each trait. That grade culminates into your overall grade. You then get placed in a bucket, and then your rookie draft tier is based on where you were drafted, first round, second round, third round, etc. So let's get into the 2025 class. For those of you guys who skipped to this point, everything I'm going to show you in the model is viewable on flockfantasy.com. You can even tinker with it yourself if you want to. So let's say you want to see how many running backs ran a 4.3 or faster and went in the first round. You can actually do that over on the site. Use code FSE when you sign up. That'll be linked down below in the pinned comment. Sign up annually to save 6 months. Get 30% off any of the packages. Our draft guide, which will be fully updated with our top 50 rankings, player cards, sleepers, values, busts, all that stuff. That will be updated on Sunday, April 27th. As you guys are watching this, it might already be up. All of our Dynasty and rookie rankings will be up to date for one quarterback Superflex, and you will also get a free team review and buy-sell holder report voucher for using our code. Trade value charts, tons more content. Link down below in the pinned comments. So let's get into the class. Basically, we're going to go through tier by tier. We're going through those prospect buckets, and we're going to talk about who's there. I'm going to go in order of how the model has these players ranked. I don't actually have the players ranked in this exact order. However, my rankings are heavily influenced by the model, so I'll tell you kind of where I have tinkers and things here and there. But of course, all my rankings are on the site. Workhorse tier, 83% chance at a 15-point per game season. So I'll have all the hit rates above me right now. 100% of the time, a guy in a workhorse tier is peaking as a top 5 running back in Dynasty value. You also get a 1 in 3 chance at getting a 20-point per game season, basically like a top 3 finish out of these players if you're in the workhorse tier. There are no generational prospects in this class. Unfortunately, Ashton Jeanty missed by the hair of his chinny chin chin at 0.41%. Not my official rankings, like I said, but Ashton Jeanty is the RB1 in the model. He is, of course, RB1 for me as well. He does miss some points in the model for not playing in a Power 5 conference, but if you really wanted to get picky here, he did play for a college football playoff team, so he had a lot of good competition games. It's just I can't make an exception that he didn't play in a Power 5 conference. He loses points for that, and that's what keeps him out of the generational tier. Rules are rules. He is best comparable to Christian McCaffrey. When you look at how close his grade is to Christian McCaffrey, and then obviously Zeke and JT and mixing some of these other guys, those are his best comparable prospects. We're talking guys that have, 20 RB1 seasons between the 4 guys that you see here. It doesn't get much better than this. He's the 101, obviously. No questions asked. If you have the 101, Raiders have touches. They have the 6th overall draft capital invested into this guy. No other running backs on the roster are worth a shit. I mean, Raheem Mostert's, I guess, the second best guy there, but he's really old. Geno, likely an older quarterback, probably going to check the ball down, reignite that receiving ceiling that we didn't really see from Jeanty in 2024 in the college football landscape, but we did see his sophomore sophomore season in 2023. No questions asked. He's the 101. RB2 in the model and RB2 in my rankings. Omarion Hampton does crack the workhorse here as well. Because he gets that first round draft capital, you'll notice he actually is the only one on this comps list that has first round draft capital. Javonte, an early second round pick. Mixon and Jonathan Taylor, also second rounders. I will say, because he has first round capital, he does get slightly a bump in the film section here. It does appear his best comparable running back prospect is former UNC Tar Heel Javonte Williams back in 2021. He nails the traits. We know this about Omarion Hampton. Of course, from a immediate short-term angle, Najee Harris might be a little bit of a pest for us, but generally speaking, very strong film, very strong analytics, of course, has excellent traits. In rookie drafts, to me, it would be between him, Travis Hunter, and Tet McMillan. That is the tier of players that I have. I'll talk about Hunter and McMillan in the wide receiver version tomorrow. 102, if you're there, you need a running back, I don't blame you. I will take Travis Hunter over Omarion Hampton 75, 90 to 90% of the time, depending on my team construction. But if you need a running back at 102, I don't blame you. I think the market, generally speaking, will have him at 102, and he's a very strong pick there because he's running behind a great offensive line, team that wants to run the football, has Justin Herbert as his quarterback who likes to throw to his running backs. It's a great situation, other than the fact that Najee Harris might be a pest for him halfway through his rookie season or whatever. Moving into the RB1 upside prospect. So out of the workhorse tier into RB1 upside, obviously the hit rates are above me. 64% chance at a 15-plus point per game season. 71% chance at RB1 value in terms of overall Dynasty keep trade cut value post year one. And about a coin flip for a guy that peaks as a top 5 running back on the market. Running back 3 in the model and in my rankings is TreVeyon Henderson, who kicks off this tier. TreVeyon Henderson's best comparables here, you see Alvin Kamara, you see Kenneth Walker, you see DeAndre Swift. I think DeAndre Swift is probably the best comparable, given the skill set he has, the way that he plays, the actual film, the athletic testing. Remember that DeAndre Swift, his biggest issue is mental, right? He misses holes, he makes mistakes, he fumbles the ball, he does stupid shit. If TreVeyon Henderson doesn't have that issue, he would be basically a much better version of DeAndre Swift, who's had multiple really, really good seasons and an RB1 season in his career. So imagine if Swift didn't make those mental mistakes. That's what you're getting with TreVeyon Henderson. And I don't think Mike Vrabel and an old school coach and franchise like the New England Patriots would draft a player like that. So we're not learning a whole lot so far because I think the consensus will have these players as the top 3 running backs, but it's a very easy pick for me at 105. For those of you guys who are wondering where to pick TreVeyon Henderson, I do have him RB3. I would select him straight up over Cam Ward, even if those of you guys that wanted a quarterback wanted to take Cam Ward. For me, I just think that Henderson is a much better running back prospect than Cam Ward is a quarterback prospect. And quarterbacks, yeah, they can, gain all this value and stuff, but TreVeyon Henderson has been a Dynasty and Debbie darling for years. He goes out and has a great rookie season. He's going to be damn near the RB1 in Dynasty and could be more valuable than Cam Ward, even if Cam Ward has a pretty good rookie season too. Cam Ward, not a sure thing. TreVeyon Henderson, to me, a lot closer to a sure thing, which is why I would take him immediately after that first tier of players like I talked about with Hunter, with McMillan, and with Hampton. Henderson's that next name for me there at 105 for those of you guys that have that pick. RB4 in the model is his former teammate Quinshon Judkins, who obviously was the 36th overall pick to the Cleveland Browns. I didn't actually mention where Henderson went. He went 38th overall to the Patriots. Really good landing spot for him as well. Going to play with Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson. Probably going to be a bit of a pest for him early on in his career, but nonetheless, I think TreVeyon Henderson will be great. Quinshon Judkins going to the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about Dylan Sampson being added later on in the draft. But this puts him squarely in the crosshairs of the guy that he's replacing. Look at the prospect model here. His biggest and closest comparable is Nick Chubb, who he is replacing in Cleveland. Nick Chubb made the Browns a great running team. Quinshon Judkins can do the exact same thing. He's a solid bet in this tier, especially when you consider the landing spot. Joe Flacco's a half-decent quarterback. He can hold down the fort for year one. We'll see what happens with Shadur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel and whatever else they might do at quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft now that they have 2 first-round picks. We don't know what's going to go on with that situation. What we do know, Kevin Stefanski's a good coach. They run a lot of zone, which is good for Quinshon Judkins. And they do have a pretty functional offense anytime Joe Flacco or better type of quarterback has been in there. Rest assured, Quinshon Judkins has a very good chance to crack a 250-plus carry role early on in his career. It is unfortunate that they took Dylan Sampson, who's also very talented, in the 4th round to work in, presumably as a change of pace back, but I still feel pretty good about Judkins. I tend to think a lot of you guys are going to be in rookie drafts where Judkins slides to like 109, 111. Like, I still have him ranked as my 107, 108, so I'm still very much comfortable taking him that high. Kaleb Johnson is the RB5 in the model and also is currently my RB5. I think this is a little bit of a hot take. I'll talk about RJ Harvey here in a second, but Kaleb Johnson, despite 3rd round capital going to the Pittsburgh Steelers there at 83rd overall, is also an RB1 upside caliber prospect, which again, let me reiterate, 64% chance at RB1 production and peaking as a dynasty RB1 on the open market 71% of the time. So even despite that draft capital, he has very, very good comps. Jonathan Brooks, Zach Charbonnet, Derrick Henry. Obviously, Brooks injury-related. Charbonnet goes to a bad landing spot. But as prospects, those are very, very good comps. Henry and Brooks and Charbonnet, all bigger physical backs. I know this might be a hot take, but I would select Kaleb Johnson over RJ Harvey. I get that RJ Harvey went to a slightly better landing spot, definitely has a clearer path to touches because Jaylen Warren's a lot better than anybody in the Broncos backfield. But I tend to think Aaron Rodgers is going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, likely going to land there. They drafted Will Howard late in the draft. We'll have to see what happens. It's up for grabs for Kaleb Johnson. Kaleb Johnson was better than the 83rd overall player in this class. Let's call a spade here. If you were drafting Kaleb Johnson or thinking he would be a late 1st round pick for you, 110, 111, 112, what changed? He literally was going to go 3rd round pretty much the entire time. Most of the buzz was late 2nd, early 3rd, and that's exactly where he went. They run a predominantly zone scheme, which is exactly what he needed schematically to be a hit in the NFL. Arthur Smith and the Steelers were 2nd in the NFL in zone run percentage at 60.19%. And Kaleb ranked top 5 nearly across the board. EPA, missed tackles forced on zone runs, everything you could have asked for. He was the RB5 going into the draft. He is still the RB5 for me coming out of the draft. Now, since we're going in order, you guys will probably expect me to talk about RJ Harvey next. However, you'd be wrong. In the model, he is actually not for 2 more running backs because he did get overdrafted, according to what the model thinks. The RB6 in the model, and I will introduce him as the only running back who's ever gone on day 3 with an RB1 upside tag. Every other running back 1 upside has gone on day 2 or earlier, except for Cam Skattebo. Pick 105 to the New York Giants. Landing spot aside, because him and Tyrone Tracy are definitely like good complements to each other from a real life standpoint, and Tracy's a good back and he's a young back, and they'll probably cannibalize touches off of each other. I don't think Skattebo is going to outright win this job. I don't think Tracy's going away, but I also don't think Tracy's going to take over this job and Skattebo doesn't mean anything because Skattebo got higher draft capital than Tracy did. And fun fact, pick 105 is actually the exact pick that James Conner was selected at, which a lot of people expected Cam Skattebo to have a similar career to. And James Conner was actually a 3rd round pick at 105 because he was a compensatory pick. There wasn't that many compensatories this year, so Cam Skattebo goes in the 4th round technically. His comps being exclusively day 2 picks like Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson says a lot, man. He's going to be a smash in a lot of people's rookie drafts. He's likely going to be, I would imagine, somewhere between like the 204, 205 to like 209, 210 in a lot of people's rookie drafts. And I think it's rare that you get a prospect with this much receiving upside, especially in that area of the draft. So he is going to be a heavy target of mine, and that smash label is definitely apropos for how I'm going to actually take care of Cam Skattebo in my rookie drafts. Running back 2 upside prospects. So now we're out of the running back 1 upside prospects. Running back 2 upside prospects. Hit rate drops from 64% to 30% for a 15-point per game season. Only a 30% chance also of being an RB1 on the open market, and about 57, 60% chance for being a RB2 on the open market there. So running back 7 in the model is still not RJ Harvey, who went in the 2nd round. We have Bhayshul Tuten, 104th overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He would have been an RB1 upside prospect had he gone on day 2. Unfortunately, he did not, despite being an early day 3 pick. Again, fun fact about pick number 104, it's been a day 2 pick before. Just happened we didn't have very many compensatories this year, and he was a 4th round pick instead of a 3rd round pick. ETN on the last year of his deal in Jacksonville. Maybe trade bait? We don't exactly know. What we do know is that James Gladstone is not afraid to jettison players that aren't fits for what him and Liam Cohen want to do. We saw them get rid of Evan Ingram. We saw them get rid of Christian Kirk. They've been jettisoning players all offseason pretty much. I think it's possible Etienne gets dealt. Travis Etienne is from 2 coaches ago. Urban Meyer drafted him. Doug Peterson used him. Trent Baalke drafted him, who's no longer there. And same goes for Tank Bigsby, who Trent Baalke drafted as well. Think of all of these comps in rookie drafts. Think of these guys that Bhayshul Tuten compares to. Trey Benson, Devon Achane, Miles Sanders. Were these guys available in the mid to late second round where Bhayshul Tuten's going to go? Absolutely not. They went in the early second round at latest, but probably the late first round in a lot of your rookie drafts. Last year for Benson, 2 years ago for Achane, and in 2019 for Miles Sanders. So for me, I look at Tuten. A lot of people are going to make the Bucky Irving connection. He fits that kind of role for what Liam Cohen is going to want to do in that run game, and I absolutely love the fit. So he's going to be a big-time target of mine. I'm not going to actually take him over RJ Harvey, who we're going to talk about in a second, because I got to respect the draft capital of RJ Harvey. But if you want to trade down, collect some extra picks, take Bhayshul Tuten instead. The model basically says he's still a better prospect, even despite the 4th-round capital. Running back 8, RJ Harvey, 60th overall pick to the Denver Broncos. Excellent landing spot. As good of a landing spot as you can possibly ask for. No competition for touches. Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, that's it. He was a surprise day 2 pick. Not a lot of people thought he would go this high. I think a lot of people would have expected Kaleb Johnson to go ahead of him. You could see some of the comps very similar because he has basically the same grade as Bhayshul Tuten. Trey Benson, Sony Michel, Rachaad White, Miles Sanders. There's going to be a lot of leagues that are going to take this guy 109, 110, 111. To me, that's too high. I get the day 2 capital, but he is still a little bit of a risky prospect. He's a little bit older, has some warts to his profile, but he's a decent player. He has good film, definitely some promising traits. And again, Denver's a good offense with Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin to work with at the running back position. He should be treated, in my opinion, the same exact way we treated James Cook in 2022. James Cook, I wanted to get in the early second round of a lot of drafts. A lot of people wanted to get him in the late first round of a lot of drafts. Ergo, I didn't end up with very much James Cook as a result of it. I'm not going to take RJ Harvey over the tight ends. I'm not going to take RJ Harvey over Jackson Dart. I'm not going to take RJ Harvey over Kaleb Johnson. Again, you could talk me into RJ Harvey over Jaden Higgins and some of the other players there. I think that's totally fine. But he's about the 201 to 203 in my rankings, depending on your team need. It's a great landing spot. He's got a lot of redeeming qualities, but it is a sketchy bet the second you elevate this guy. There is going to be people, I promise you, that take him over Quinshon Judkins. And that to me is absolutely loony bin, and I will not be doing it. RB7 in the model, basically getting elevated to like RB4, 5, or 6 in most people's leagues. Be careful with RJ Harvey. 201 to 203, perfectly fine with that. Anything beyond it is a little bit early for my taste. RB9 in the model, Kansas State DJ Giddens goes 151st overall to the Indianapolis Colts. 5th round capital. Not great. 5th round picks, don't love that, especially with Jonathan Taylor ahead of him on the depth chart. However, DJ Giddens needs to sit and learn from a pro like Jonathan Taylor because his biggest flaws are not athletic, they're not analytics, they're not film. It's the nuance of playing the running back position, how to run effectively, set up your blocks, anticipate, make good decisions, all that kind of stuff. And DJ Giddens going with a running back coach and an offensive coordinator with Shane Steichen, learning from Jonathan Taylor, that'll be great for him. Rachaad White, David Montgomery, and Devontae Booker are the best comparables. Rachaad White and David Montgomery obviously on the high end. Devontae Booker probably more of a median projection. Giddens should have went in the late 3rd round, early 4th round of the actual draft. That's the type of talent he was. He didn't go there. That's totally fine. He's going to end up being, because he's a 5th round draft capital running back, and a lot of dynasty players are going to use that to guide them, and they're going to see JT on the depth chart ahead of him. He's probably going to be a 3rd round pick in most of your rookie drafts, maybe even later, maybe even a 4th round pick. And to me, he's an absolute smash at that spot because you don't usually get the opportunity to draft RB2 upside caliber prospects in the 3rd round, especially not maybe even mid to late 3rd round where Giddens could go in a lot of people's leagues. Again, comps to Rachaad White, David Montgomery, and Devontae Booker. RB10 in the model is Dylan Sampson, 126th pick, also to the Cleveland Browns. Again, I already teased this. Not great that he goes to join Quinshon Judkins in fantasy. Judkins can carry a workload, and 36th overall draft capital suggests that he will carry a workload. Sampson can make this the new Nick Chubb and the new Kareem Hunt. Use the change of pace style that they've always used in this backfield. Unfortunately, he's going to be a committee guy. I think Sampson's very explosive, very talented, but he's also very young, a little bit raw, only a 1-year starter. You are going to have league mates. Again, similar to Harvey, there's going to be people stupid enough to take Sampson over Judkins, or to at least be like, why would I ever draft Judkins at 108, 109 when I can draft Sampson at 207 to 210, wherever he's going to end up going? I don't know ADP yet. The draft just finished. I promise you top 40 draft capital is a big difference between mid to late 4th round capital. Not to mention, Judkins is just better. That's my opinion, but I think he's just a lot better of a running back. So Dylan Sampson, good comps here. Ronald Jones, James Cook, Jeremy McNichols, pretty decent comps. Probably more of a late 2nd, early 3rd round caliber rookie pick in my estimation. Again, we'll see where ADP comes out. Doing this immediate reaction. But decent option, probably going to get a little bit overdrafted, I think, in some spots. But we'll have to wait and see. Now let's get into the flex play running backs. Now, if we had gotten a lot more 3rd, 4th round running backs, we would have a lot better hit rates in RB2 upside territory. We have 11 flex play running backs in this class. And to give you guys an idea what caliber of running back we're talking about here, Marshawn Lloyd, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Bucky Irving, some of the guys in last year's class were also flex play caliber running backs. 17% hit rate for a 15-point per game season. Obviously, Bucky being one of those guys. 1/3 of the time, you are getting an RB2 caliber producer, so like a fantasy relevant guy. And then about a 27% chance that you get a back who peaks as a top 24 valued running back on the open market. You have Damian Martinez, who went in the 7th round, 223rd overall to the Seahawks. Not a great landing spot, but Kenneth Walker maybe on the move. Who knows? Trevor Etienne, 114th overall to the Carolina Panthers. Very crowded backfield there. Chuba Hubbard, the lead back. Rico Dowdle, the second back. Jonathan Brooks, eventually coming off of his injury. Not a great landing spot, but I do think he can at least be maybe a 3rd down back or a special teamer. Jarquez Hunter, 117th overall to the Los Angeles Rams. Also a 4th round pick. Again, I don't really think that's a great landing spot. Danny seemed a lot more excited about it on stream than I did because I think he's very clearly behind Kyron, even though he has the last year on his rookie deal. And also clearly behind Blake Corum on the depth chart. It doesn't really bring anything different than what those guys bring to the table, except for a little bit more speed. Taj Brooks, 193rd overall to the Cincinnati Bengals, 6th round pick. Kind of interesting to me because the Bengals don't really have anything behind Chase Brown, and I like Taj Brooks' film. Devin Neal, 184th overall to the New Orleans Saints, 6th round pick as well. I don't think the Saints like Kendre Miller very much. It's a problem of the last coaching staff. Alvin Kamara is really old, and I think Devin Neal can just straight up tote the rock. So I do think that's an interesting one. You could see some of the comps here. Damian Martinez, comps to like an Isaiah Davis or Roschon Johnson. Trevor Etienne, you get like a Tyler Beatty type. Jarquez Hunter, kind of like a Samaje Perine, Chase Edmonds type. Then you got Taj Brooks, more of like a Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier. And same goes for Devin Neal, kind of Tyler Algier, B-Rob, James Conner. Again, there's some big hits there. There's some not so big hits there. I would just say this is generally the range you're looking at. Usually, you're going to hit on 1 out of every 3 flex play caliber running backs. There's going to be about 2 or 3 Tyler Beatty's and Isaiah Davis's for every James Conner, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson, somebody that was a hit from this territory. So keep that in mind. Still pretty good prospects, even though they went, 5th, 6th, 7th round, some of these guys, still pretty good prospects. We have more flex plays. Again, I said we had 11 of them. That was 5 of them. Here's the other 6. Ollie Gordon, 179th overall to the Miami Dolphins, 6th round pick. Brashard Smith, 228 to the Kansas City Chiefs, 7th round pick. Woody Marks, 116th overall to the Texans, 4th round pick. LeQuint, 236, 7th round pick to the Jags. Jordan James, 147th overall, 5th round pick to the 49ers. And Jaden Blue, 6th round pick, 177th overall to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, comps you can see here. Ollie Gordon to Ray Davis, Mark Walton. Brashard Smith to Will Shipley, Nyheim Hines, Bucky Irving. Woody Marks, same thing with Ty Johnson mixed in there. Same goes for LeQuint Allen, all pass-catching running backs. Jordan James, like a Dylan Laube, Myles Gaskin. Jaden Blue, kind of same thing. Now, there's 11 guys here. 1 out of every 3 hits. So what I would like you guys to do is there's 11 players. 1 out of every 3 means that 3 or 4 of these guys are going to hit. What I would suggest is rank them 1 to 11 in terms of don't worry about draft capital. 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round. It's not a huge difference. Generally, 4th and 5th rounds better than 6th and 7th round, but it's not a huge difference in terms of hit rate. If you want to know what running backs from this territory you should draft, generally speaking, the rule of thumb is at running back situation matters. And volume matters. So for guys like Taj Brooks, who could have a role right away, Devin Neal maybe has a role right away alongside Kamara. Trevor Etienne maybe has a pass-catching role right away. Jaden Blue, not a whole lot of competition for receiving touches, especially in that Dallas Cowboys backfield. Brashard Smith, they don't really have somebody like that in Kansas City. They have Pacheco, who's a banger, Kareem Hunt, who's a banger, Ollie Gordon. They don't really have a banger in that offense. Just look at the opportunity. Look at what they already have. Look at the contract statuses, the contract situations, and obviously the quarterbacks and the offensive line and the schemes. Again, I would say LeQuint Allen, Jordan James, Damian Martinez, Jarquez Hunter, probably suboptimal landing spots, just given short-term ability to earn touches. But generally speaking, taking shots on these guys is not really a bad idea. And Woody Marks, same thing. I didn't really mention him. Joe Mixon, good pass-catching running back, but you could probably use Woody Marks as a pure pass-catching specialist, and he was a 4th-round pick, so that's decent draft capital. Whatever guy you like here, go ahead and take them. I really like probably the value that I'm going to get on a Woody Marks in full PPR formats. I think he'll be interesting. Devin Neal, definitely going to be a target of mine in this territory. I think Taj Brooks is definitely interesting as well. People will probably get pretty excited about Ollie Gordon, Brashard Smith. Definitely worth taking some shots, 3rd, 4th, maybe even priority UDFAs in your rookie drafts. Waiver guys and worse, just to quickly go over this, we got Khalil Mullings, 188 to the Tennessee Titans. Phil Moffitt, 239 to the Dallas Cowboys. Gross. Kyle Menengai, 233 to the Chicago Bears. Wild that this is the first running back that they took. Raheem Sanders, UDFA. Donovan Edwards, UDFA. Marcus Yarns, UDFA. Jaquindon Jackson, UDFA. We'll see where they go. I literally just started recording this after the draft ended. I'm sure by the time you guys are watching this, you know where some of those UDFAs signed. I'll throw some news clips on the screen if while I'm editing, news comes out about this. But regardless, waiver wire guys, you're talking about pretty low hit rates. Like, to give you guys an idea, waiver wire guys give you a top 24 season, top 30 season, 18% of the time, and pretty much never peak as great running backs in dynasty value. You're not generally going to see many of these dudes do much more than be like, oh, he's a sell high after his rookie season or whatever. Like, the best guy that you see on that list is that Raheem Sanders does kind of compare favorably to a guy like James Robinson, and I would say he's going to definitely be like one of the best taxi squad stashes, but generally speaking, probably not a guy you want to spend a draft pick on. So that's the end of the 2025 running back class. If you guys are wondering how good the class is, that kind of thing, we have 2 workhorse prospects, 4 RB1 prospects, 4 RB2 prospects, 11 flex play prospects, and then again, a couple waiver wire, stashes and fodder stashes there. It best compares to the 2020 class. The 2020 class had 1 workhorse, 4 running back, 1 upside, 3 RB2 upside, and then a lot more of these Darrington Evans, DJ Dallas, Keyshawn Vaughn types. Again, you see not a whole lot of hits in that territory, but generally speaking, James Robinson was a hit from a waiver wire standpoint. And we have a lot more of those flex play caliber guys, a lot more sleepers, if you want to go and use that word. One piece of advice I'd like you guys to remember, because I haven't talked about this before, but among running backs and wide receivers, usually most fantasy players, when they're deciding between, a flex position, let's say you're at the 209, you're like, I could use either or, wide receiver or running back. Workhorse and RB1 upside prospects hit at a higher rate than wide receiver 1 upside prospects. 83% and 64% for workhorse and RB1 versus 38% for wide receiver 1 upside. So if you're on the board and you go, I actually would like to take Omarion Hampton over Travis Hunter because workhorse running backs hit higher than wide receiver 1 upside wide receivers. Same goes for Ted McMillan. Take those top backs as tiebreakers when you can, if they're RB1 upside prospects only as tiebreakers. So if you got Judkins versus Jaden Higgins or whatever, take Judkins. He's an RB1 upside prospect. If you got Skattebo versus, a wide receiver 2 upside prospect or whatever, probably want to take Skattebo in that situation. Hit rates are almost nearly identical, though, once you get RB2 upside versus wide receiver 2 upside, so keep in mind it balances out there. And then wide receiver 3 upside hit at a higher rate than flex play upside in terms of running backs versus wide receivers there. So again, keep that in mind when you're drafting. Do you go running back? Do you go wide receiver? Of course, tight ends and quarterbacks are going to mix in as well, but that just is a good general guideline to follow. The conclusion of this video, this is the end. Hammer the like button if you guys enjoyed. Spent a lot of time on this, obviously, getting this out at like 8 p.m. on a Saturday night. Not excellent, but I do really appreciate all the support on this video. I know it's going to probably get a lot of support, and a wide receiver version will be coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. If you guys want to tinker with all these rankings, all of the prospect model stuff, head on over to flockfantasy.com. Use the promo code FSE when you sign up. If you got some value here, we'd really appreciate if you could support us over on there. You get tons of bonus content, free team review, free buy, sell, hold report when you sign up annually. All of our rankings, all of our draft guides, including all the other creators' draft guides on the site as well. An annual sign up with promo code FSE is 30% off, and you save 6 months right now. And like I said, get vouchers for free, personalized advice like a team review and a buy, sell, hold report. Instructions with how to redeem those will be in your email when you sign up if you're confused. But like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace out, and I'll talk to you soon.